Why is Judaism maternal?
Let me start by explaining the question. The question is that there is something very, very serious, which unfortunately and tragically in our times has been so convoluted and so messed up by what's called progress. But it's so important to Yiddishkeit, and it's not going to change because the world has decided that it's changed. And that's the word yichus. Yichus, genealogy, yichus. Yichus is very, very important. Now, of course, yichus is very cruel. If a person is adopted, if a person's father is a non-Jew, if a person is a Jew, but he's not a descendant of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov because he's a Ger Tzedek, nobody wants to feel inferior. Nobody wants to feel less. And of course, in Yiddishkeit, God forbid that a person should be made to feel inferior. But at the same time, yichus is very, very important. Yichus, genealogy, is very, very important. It's true spiritually, it's true religiously, and it's even true psychologically. To be very blunt and to be very worldly about it, you want to know who your father is. You're not a human being because you know who your mother is. You're a human being because you know your father. Animals know their mother also. Animals have no yichus. They have no sense of connections to other human beings other than a utilitarian connection. A spiritual connection doesn't exist. In Yiddishkeit and in the Machshavas Hayadas, a Jewish thought, the yichus, is a very deep and a very, very real thing. And like I said, it's a very sensitive subject because on the one hand it's very important, and on the other hand, every Jew is very important, whether they have the yichus of the Kohen Gadol or have the yichus of, as the Gemara says, Gadol mamzeh Talmid Chacham, we Kohen Gadol am ha'aret. It's a different kind of yichus. But yichus, genealogy, is very, very much a part of the philosophy and the theology of Yiddishkeit. What must be underscored is that the way Torah looks at yichus is not limited to Jews. It's limited to human beings. Animals have no yichus. Behema ein leyachas. Finished. She or he has a mother, has no father. Even though a child, an animal, is not going to be born without being sired, there has to be a paternal contribution. But animals are identified by their mother, right? It's one of those really weird anomalies of Torah that the Chazal say, the Pasuk says, Eisiv es b'nei, le'sishchatu b'yem echad, you're not allowed to kill a parent animal and a child animal for a korban on the same day, or maybe not even for a korban. But Eisiv es b'nei means him and his son. When in reality, Eisiv es b'nei does not mean him and his son, it means him and his mother, or her and her daughter or son. Because when it comes to animals, there is no association between the paternal contribution to the child. So the Torah calls it Oisev es b'nai, him and his son. And Oisev es b'nai, you're allowed to shech p'yemech, there's no problem. Because there's never an idea when it comes to animals as an animal relating to its parent, to its paternal parent, to its father, only to its mother. When it comes to human beings, the definition of a human being is that he knows who his father is, he knows his yichus. An example for this, which is again sensitive and controversial, is when children are adopted. And I understand that there's a bit of a debate in halacha amongst poskim, contemporary poskim, about what kind of relationship there is between an adoptive parent and a child. There's no biological bond, but there is, besides for the biological bond, an incredibly deep nurturing and involvement. So what is the halachic status of an adoptive father, and in this case, of course, an adoptive mother, to a child? And some argue that there is some halachic carryover, and I don't understand this position well, but I've heard that there is such a position. And others argue, and I believe this is the Rebbe's position, that an adopted child is not a child of his father and his mother. He's a child of his paternal father and his biological parents, even though they've done nothing to raise that child. Now, of course, this is upsetting to many and it's sensitive. And I don't mean to upset people, but I do mean to say it the way it is, if you will. Now, the reason yichus is important, because the very fact that you know who your father is indicates that your existence is healthy, that your existence is coming from a lifestyle where there is an emphasis on family. Right? The difference between people and animals is the animals get together to procreate. And that's it. Human beings get together to become one. A man and a woman in the human family get married, not just for the sake of having children, but to become basar echad. Of course, ultimate basar echad is their children, but it's their home. And it's the trademark of human beings that the heart of our civilization, the heart of our self-identity, and to be frank, the heart of religion, the heart of Yiddishkeit and lahavdil, sheva mitzvahs b'nei ne'ech is family. And a family is a father and a mother and children. And knowing who your father is a symptom of that familial structure and that familial loyalty and that familial responsibility and so on. And therefore in Yichus, knowing who your father is very, very important. And this is not unique to Jewish people, it's unique to human beings. Which is why when it comes to non-Jews, if you pray for a non-Jew, as you see so often in the Rebbe's videos by dollars and so on, the Rebbe was always asked non-Jew, what's your father's name? Whether it's for health, or it's for illness, or it's life, or it's for death, he would always say, a non-Jew would say, my name is John, and my mother's name is Mary, and the Rebbe would say, what's your father's name? Because that's really what Yichus is. Yichus means knowing your father. Because knowing your father means knowing your identity not as somebody who was, for lack of words, forgive me for using this word, sired, but somebody who was brought into this world in the context of a family. And that's why paternal yichus is so important. And of course, living in a stable home where there is tznius and there is loyalty and so on is the basis for the children growing up in that home being spiritually healthy. They have a spiritual center, and their spiritual center is the purity, the holiness that there is in their family, in their home. This lays the foundation for the question that is being asked. How come all of a sudden when it comes to Jewish people, where yichus is even more important, we follow the maternal line, the mother? Because if the whole idea of yichus is that you know your father, because you're coming from a healthy situation, familial situation, so why when it comes to the Jewish people, they're following the mother? It's a very good question, it's a very fair question. And of course the compounding element of this question is that the only aspect of yichus which follows the maternal line is whether you're a Jew or not. But whether you're a Kayin or a Levi or a Yisrael follows the paternal line. If your father's a Kayin, you're a Kayin. If your father's a Levi, you're a Levi. If your father's a Yisrael, you're a Yisrael. And here all of a sudden the maternal line doesn't make a difference. And again, the reason is because that's what yichus is. Yichus is paternity, knowing your father. Knowing your father means that not only you were born in a family. And this is the foundation of the question. Why, when it comes to Yiddishkeit, do we suddenly follow the maternal line? And there's a sikh from the Rebbe on this. Vayechi, in one of the later halakim, maybe it's Chelik Lamed, where the Rebbe discusses Rachel versus Yankov Avinu. And I'm going to try and summarize what is said in that sikha in the context of this question. And I'm going to rephrase the question. If it's true that yichus follows paternity for obvious reasons, because for the most part everybody knows their mother, at least they knew their mother at one point, how come when it comes to the essence of being a Jew, you follow the maternal line? So in short, what the Rebbe says in this particular sikha, it's a sikha in Parshas Vayechi, where Yankov is in the same breath explaining why Rachel sacrificed herself for her children to be buried on the roadside rather than be buried in the Marzah Machpelah, so that her children would have access to her when they needed her, going into Golus. And in the very same breath, Yankov Avinu was saying, "Untaltani, unsasani mitzrayim, ukvartani, you should bury me in the Marzah Machpelah." So in the light of that sikha, the Rebbe makes the following argument about the difference between men and women. And in short, the argument is as follows. Every human being has two things. What they do and who they are. Every human being has two things. What they do and who they are. Who they are is, of course, their very essence. And what they do is how that very essence is expressed to a variety of different aspects, different things. And the argument that the Rebbe gives that the difference between men and women is that in men, what they do is more important than who they are. And in women, who they are is more important than what they do. And on that basis, the Rebbe says the idea of what you do is superficial when compared to who you are. In other words, if you define yourself by what you do means how many mitzvahs you do, how much influence you have, how much you change the world, that's what you do. And who you are is what is your essence. And your essence is why you exist. And the illustration for this is the fact that the Rachel is prepared to sacrifice herself for her children more than Yaakov Avinu is. Because Yaakov Avinu is concerned with what he needs to accomplish, and Rachel is not concerned with what she needs to accomplish. Rachel is concerned with what she is. She's a mother of Jewish children, and she's going to give everything away for the sake of her children. And this is the way the Rebbe explains it in that Sikha, why, even though Yichus, genealogy, genealogical identity and continuity has to be connected to the father, because that's the whole idea. But there's something even deeper than Yichus that comes from the father, which is the Yichus that comes from the mother, which is what are we in essence? And in essence we are a piece of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a chelik elokam imal mamish, a piece of HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. In other words, as profound as the idea of family is, as profound as the idea of Yichus being connected to the father, which is a symptom of a healthy and a continuing family structure, deeper than all of that is the fact that every single Jew has in his essence something that makes him Jewish, no matter what he does or doesn't do, no matter what he knows and what he doesn't know, no matter who his parents are, who his parents aren't. And that deepest of aspects is maternal. So this is the deal. The deal is that in Yiddishkeit, Yichus is very important. And Yichus is what separates human beings from animals. And Yichus means to know where you come from. Not just to know technically who you come from, but that your identity is in the context of your ancestors and your parents, which is a healthy and holy way to be. And even deeper than Yichus, which is based on the holiness of how a family behaves and how parents behave, is the very fact that you're a Jew. And the very fact that you're a Jew doesn't change whether your parents behaved appropriately or behaved inappropriately. And that aspect is a Yichus which comes directly from the mother. And therefore, complex aspects of Yichus, like Kohen, Levi, Yisrael, are paternal. And the very essence of being a Jew, the Yichus is maternal.